Math 50, Section 7.5, Percent and Problem Solving. In this section, we're going to calculate the sales tax and the total price, how to figure out commissions, and calculate discount and sale price. The very first problem is dealing with sales tax and total price. So you pay sales tax on items that you purchase, and it's at a rate, it's at a percent. So what you do is to figure out how much sales tax you are paying, it's a portion of your total price. You take the rate, turn it into a decimal, and you multiply it by the purchase price. Now, if you want to know the total price, you add that tax rate, that sales tax with the purchase price, and that's your total price. So here's an example. So for question number 1, find the sales tax and the total price on the purchase of $85.50 Atlas in a city where the sales tax is 7.5%. So if we want to know our sales tax, so what is our sales tax if we're paying 7.5% of 85.50? So to turn that percent to a decimal, move the decimal 2 places over, and you multiply that by 8, because it says of 85.50. So using our calculator, we end up with 6.41, approximately 6.41. So that's how much sales tax we're paying. Now, to figure out what our total price is, we take the sales tax and add that to the original, the purchase price of the Atlas. So $85.50 plus $6.41, and that's going to be our total price, $91.91. Okay, now there is a trick, another trick that if you wanted to do this, you could put if you're just asking to figure out what the total cost is of the item and the sales tax, you can insert a 1 in front of the decimal. So if it's 0.075, you're going to make it 1.075 and multiply this by 85.50. Watch this. So if I took 1.075 and multiply that by 85.50, you will get 91.91. So what that 1 does is it adds the cost of the item, and then it adds 7.5% of that item also. So you can do it in one shot. But this particular question asked for 2 separate things, so we did it separately. Example number 2, finding the sales tax on something. So it says the sales tax on a $310 Sony flat screen digital 32-inch TV is $26.35. We want to know what the sales tax is, okay? So the sales tax is $26.35. I want to know what percent we paid of this sales price to get that number. So it's $26.35 is what percent of the total price. Okay, so $26.35 equals, you can do X over 100 times the purchase price of $310, and what we did was we did $310 over 100. Sorry, I'm writing sloppy. And we've got the X again, so 310X equals, now this times this, you're just moving this decimal 2 over. So 2635, and then divide by 310. And using my calculator, I've got 2635 divided by 310, and I got 8.5%. Now, if you do it the way they have it here, the tax rate, they just called it R. once you get your answer, you're going to have to remember to move the decimal 2 places over. So just keep that in mind. The next question or objective deals with your commission. If you're in sales, you end up getting a percentage of whatever you sell. So in this first question, and it's the same as the previous problems, you're multiplying the rate, turn it into a decimal, times your total sales. But you got to know the percent that you're getting. So Sherry and Cindy Souter, they're real estate broker partners for Wealth Investments, sold a house for $214,000 last week. Their commission is 1.5% of the selling price. So we want to know what their commission is. So 1.5% of what they sold, $214,000, is what their commission is. So you're going to move the decimal 2 places over, 0.015, multiply 214,000, and that's your answer. Simply use your calculator. $3,210 is what they made on selling that home. Okay. Example 4. Now this one they want to know what the commission rate is. So a salesperson earned $1,560 for selling a $1,300 worth of electronics equipment. Find the commission rate. So 15,000 is what percent of that amount? So 1560 is what percent? So if you want to do X over 100 of 13,000. Okay. Now, if you want to, you can cross these two zeros out, those two. So you end up with 130x. So this times 130, because there's a 1 under here, equals 1560. Then divide by 130. And you can cross those out. So it's 156 over 13. And if I use my calculator, 156 divided by 13, 12. So it's 12%. X is 12%. Now again, if you do it their way, they just said X or R is your commission rate. At the end, you have to move the decimal 2 places over, which is fine. Discount rate. So when you want to find a discount or what you're going to end up paying if something is discounted, you have to know how to be able to multiply these out and set this up like we did in the last section. So electronic rice cooker that normally is $65 is on sale for 25% off. Now I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do these problems. So if the question says what is the amount of discount and what is the sale price, so we're getting 25% off of this price. So 25% of 65 is what? So 0.25 times 65 is X. It ends up being 1625. That is the amount we're going to save. So now what you have to do is if they want to know what is the amount of discount, that's the answer. If they want to know what's the sale price, you have to take $65 and subtract 16.25. So put your decimals in, and you end up with the answer is 48.75. So $48.75. Okay. So there's another way you can do it. If you're not paying 25%, you're really paying 75%. So you could do 75% of 65 is what? So 0.75 times 65 is X. So if you take your calculator and do 0.75 times 65, you will get 48.75, which is what you're going to be paying for that item that's discounted. That's the end.